Many decorations get used on Halloween. Some people even go to great lengths to make them as real as possible. Here are 9 dead people accidentally used as Halloween decorations. Number 1. 3 teenage boys accidentally hanged themselves. William Anthony Odom, Kaylin Rebb, and Brian Jewell were just trying to make some kids cry from fright. The tears came, but not from the patrons of the haunted attraction employing the 3. In October of 1990, Jewell, 17, was working as a part of a haunted hayride attraction in Lakewood, New Jersey, when he decided to up the scare factor for patrons of the park. As a part of his portrayal of a hanging victim, he was meant to stand on the gallows at the hangman's scene and recite a chilling speech to the carts that came by as a part of the ride. Sometime during the night, the noose that was supposed to hang limply around his neck became cinched and choked the young man to death. He was discovered by a tractor full of patrons dead standing on the deck of gallows. 6 days later, in North Carolina, a 15-year-old Odom was working with friends in his aunt's home to construct a haunted house in the basement. Among the fake spiders, cauldrons, and other Halloween decorations was a noose, meant to be strictly decorative. When Odom playfully slipped the noose over his neck, it tightened and killed the boy. Over a decade later in Sparta, Michigan, a 14-year-old Reb ended up in the scene that the universe had worked very hard to keep him away from. Earlier in the day, his mother, Kathy, had taken the boy to a local horse farm to see about a job at a haunted hayride. The proprietor said he had filled all the positions and tried to turn the boy away. He begged both the man and his mother to stay, stating he would work for free. The two relented, and he was placed in a coffin display and told to scare patrons. Not satisfied with his performance at the coffin, he offered to switch with another worker whose display involved a plastic skeleton hanging from a noose slung over a small tree. In an attempt to be scarier, Reb took the place of the skeleton in the tree, causing him to snap back suddenly and cinch the noose around his neck. A group of patrons went by as he struggled to free himself, but took the display for a good show of acting, watching as his body went limp in the noose. Number 2. Ohio residents were alarmed to find out what they presumed to be a corpse-like Halloween decoration hanging from a fence turned out to be an actual dead person. Police are currently investigating Donnie Cocknor for the murder of 31-year-old Rebecca Cade, a local drunk beloved by the town. A bloody rock was found near the body and is presently thought to be the murder weapon. A local construction worker actually told his daughter that the body was a dummy while driving by, only to find out hours later it was in fact a dead woman. Number 3. On a Monday in 2009, Mustafa Muhammad Zaid's neighbors thought he had gone all out for his Halloween decorations for the year, going as far as to put a slumped-over, sinister-looking dummy on his porch to frighten his neighbors. For days, the neighbors and guests marveled at the authenticity of the prop, though no one rang Mr. Zaid's doorbell to ask where they purchased the dummy. On Thursday, someone in the 75-year-old Marina Del Rey, California complex suspected something was amiss with the prop and called the police, who discovered it was not a fake body, but Zaid's corpse on the porch, gradually decomposing for almost 4 days after a single gunshot wound to the eye ended the man's life. The lifeless corpse had been looking over the complex for days without anyone noticing that it was not a decoration but the body of their former neighbor. Number 4. In Frederica, Delaware, a 42-year-old woman hung from a tree, simultaneously frightening and impressing passerbys for hours before it was discovered that the lifelike corpse hanging from the tree had actually been void of life since that morning. On October 26, 2005, an unidentified woman climbed a tree a quarter-mile from her home and jumped off from the top branch in apparent suicide. Because of the proximity to Halloween, all that drove by the display assumed it to be a clever display for public and failed to report the body until much later in the morning. Number 5. Over the years, the curse of the Poltergeist movies has been one of the most retold rumors in Hollywood. 3 films in the franchise, 4 of the principal actors dead within years or even months of the film's release. Now we all know the Poltergeist films were not done on or strictly for Halloween, but the spooky stories on and off the set are said to have been the result of some sinister props that set off a gory chain of events. In 1982, months after the release of the first Poltergeist, Dominic Dune was strangled to death by her ex-boyfriend. In 1985, Julian Beck of Poltergeist 2 died of stomach cancer. In 1987, Will Sampson of Poltergeist 2 died after a heart-lung transplant failed to take. Finally, in 1988, Heather O'Rourke, who appeared in all 3 films, died of septic infection that caused severe bowel blockage. She went through all the filming of Poltergeist 3 with symptoms of the condition and eventually died of cardiac arrest en route to the hospital to remove the blockage. She was 12. People die. People die. Yes. But why so many from this one franchise? Was something done on the sets of the film to anger the spirit world? Was something done to tempt the ear of the other world while filming the movies? It was all in the props. As been revealed in interviews with the surviving cast and crew over the years, real bones were used as set decorations in Poltergeist 1 and 2, a weird fact that was not revealed to the actors in the first movie until they had already filmed their scenes, and which led actor Will Sampson performing a ritual on the set of the second movie to exorcise the spirits that might be present during filming. Number 6. In 1976, the New Pike Amusement Park in Long Beach, California was being prepped to film an episode of The $6 Million Man. The props for the scene, which would take place in a funhouse, were being assessed by the director when he saw a man hanging from a rope in the corner that he didn't like. A crewman went to move the dummy and was shocked when his arm came off, exposing a real human arm bone. Before you ask, no, this was not the $6 Million Man Halloween special. The episode being filmed was called Carnival of Spies, and it aired in February. But finding out a human prop is a real thing is pretty creepy. Medical examiners were called in to determine the identity of the mummy, and after finding a 1924 penny and a ticket to the Museum of Crime in Los Angeles in the body's mouth, they determined it to be that of outlaw James McCurdy, who died in a standoff in Oklahoma in 1911. Following his death by a posse sent to track the man after he and a handful of others robbed a train of $46 and a shipment of whiskey. McCurdy was embalmed with arsenic and used as a prop by a coroner who charged people a nickel to see the corpse of the bandit who wouldn't give up. The Undertaker had been taking the nickels of the curious for nearly 5 years when a man claiming to be McCurdy's long-lost brother appeared and took possession of the body, claiming he'd have it taken to California for proper burial. The body wouldn't be interred until after the $6 Million Man incident. However, as the brother had McCurdy on display weeks later as a part of a carnival put on by the Great Passion Show, the body eventually found its way to the New Pike, where unwitting visitors marveled at the dummy for years before it was discovered as an actual human body. Number 7. In Fresno, California, Amazing Joe Burris had invited friends, family, and the community to witness his latest death-defying stunt, where he would be placed under concrete in a plastic coffin and buried alive. Friends, associates, a radio station, even a score of young fans told Burris that the stunt was certain to result in his death. But the magician carried on, jumping into the clear plastic coffin, handcuffed and chained. Burris was sealed in the box, which was of his own design, and lowered into a 7-foot deep grave at the local family fun center and left to secure his exit from the crypt. In the days leading up to his grand exhibition, Burris made several attempts at the trick at a nearby pumpkin patch. While making his practice runs, he was informed that he would have a maximum of 1 minute to escape if he intended to live. His best time prior to the execution for the real thing was 5 minutes. For the actual event, 3 feet of dirt was dumped on top of Burris, after which a window was revealed to show the stuntman working against the chains holding him captive. Then came the wet concrete, 6,000 pounds of it to fill the remainder of the hole. When there was still 1 foot of gap remaining at the top of the grave, a worker pleaded to stop pouring the concrete, but another employee insisted that Burris wanted it to go all the way to the top. Before it could get there, though, the concrete's fill line suddenly dropped by 2 feet, indicating that the coffin had collapsed under the weight. By the time the magician could be pulled from the collapsed contraption, he was no longer breathing, and attempts to resuscitate him failed. Burris's body was cleared away from the scene and was not left as a prop itself, but the hole from his stunt gone wrong remained a creepy attraction for visitors until the end of Halloween season. Number 8. Ever wonder what happens to you after you die? Not in the metaphysical heaven or hell sense, but your physically dead body. Assuming you die under somewhat normal circumstances, your body goes to a morgue for processing, like the one in New York City intended by mortuary technician Cal Brassfield. When the office of the chief medical examiner took over the supervision of the Brooklyn morgue, where Brassfield was employed, things started to calm down what was once a harsh work environment. And by harsh, I of course mean to say they used body parts of corpses as playthings and took pictures. In November 2009, Brassfield claimed a stack of Polaroids which depicted him and other unidentified lab technicians posing with severed heads and other body parts in the morgue were stolen from his possession and he used in his attempt to blackmail. Several months after he refused to pay his blackmailers for silence, the photos made their way to the management and Brassfield was suspended from his position without pay. Perhaps the worst thing about the body parts as prop situation is the fact that Brassfield and the other technicians didn't limit themselves to just Halloween time to take their pictures. Some of the confiscated photos were dated while others were unlabeled, leading investigators to believe the practice spanned a longer period of time. Number 9. A collection of about 100 brains stored in formaldehyde that was on loan from another university has been found to be missing from the University of Texas Austin Psychology Program's holding area in the basement of Animal Resources Center. A professor and co-creator of the specimen collection said of the brain's disappearance, "We think somebody may have taken the brains, but we do not know all of that for sure. His co-creator, Professor Lawrence Cormack, thinks the research items may have been swiped for pranks and Halloween decorations. This is Frosty. Thanks for watching. Click the previous links to watch the other videos and subscribe.